Man City have failed to beat Liverpool. The game ended 1-1 at the Etihad. What I want to do in this video is give a very brief tactical overview of where I think the game could have been won and lost, what could have been improved, what did City do well. The way I'll be doing that is by looking at the data from the game as well as stills and, of course, my trusty tactical board. Lots of people said this was a game of two halves. I actually think it was more a game of two sides. City's left side and City's right side, one being much better than the other. No prizes for guessing which was the better and worse side. These are the average positions from the game. Bernardo dropping very deep compared to Alvarez. These are just the general lineups. Nothing too controversial. Ake brought in to deal with the threat of Salah. Ake was fantastic, by the way. Could do a whole video about how good he was defensively. But really, the main positive from a City perspective, in addition to the individual performance of Akanji, I thought was actually really good doing the John Stones role, it was these three guys in particular on that left-hand side. Doku, with his fantastic dribbling, causing all sorts of threats for Liverpool, just couldn't quite deal with him. Bernardo Silva providing that underlap. Ake also directly contributing to the goal. Conversely, and we'll discuss this, there was a big issue with these three players and the whole right-hand side in general, which, as I say, we will get into. There was very clearly a directive by Guardiola to attack Liverpool's right-hand side. 42% of City's attacks came from the left-hand side. Actually, 45% came from Liverpool's right as well, but Ake being so effective meant that they were basically redundant. There was clearly, as I say, a directive to target Trent, specifically, who isn't a bad defender, isn't terrible. That does get blown out of proportion a bit, but I do think he's a bit of a defensive liability, particularly 1v1. It makes sense to stick Doku on him, especially when Jack Grealish wasn't available due to illness. 30 seconds in, and immediately it was really clear that was the idea. Foden picks it up. What does he do? Immediately turns and then plays the ball to Bernardo, who then plays it into Doku, immediately trying to create that 1v1 situation. Doesn't quite create a 1v1 here. Szoboszlai does well to come back and help Trent. Doku puts the ball in, but then just a few moments later, again, look at all the players shifted over to the left-hand side, creating that overload. City immediately get it back to Doku. Again, it's that same 1v2 situation here, Trent and Szoboszlai. He gets it through to Bernardo really well, actually, to take on two players there and to beat them both with his pass. Bernardo gets to a really good position. He opts to play it short. I feel like Haaland's right there. Haaland against Tsimikas in an aerial duel could have been a thing, so maybe a little bit of a better decision there. But already, 1 minute in, and Doku's dribbling was already causing Liverpool some serious problems. Here is City again. All set up. No real intent to try to find anyone on the right-hand side again. This time it's Salah dropping in to help Trent. Because, again, Trent needed some help. What does Doku do? Just gives it back to Ake. Ake sucks Salah into him because Salah goes to press him. Ake realises, well, might as well pass it back to Doku to create that 1v1. That's exactly what happens. Now Doku's got Trent where he wants him. Does the 1v1, beats him again, and puts another dangerous ball in for Haaland to attack. Maybe Haaland could do better there. This is another instance in the second half. I think this was a transitional moment, actually gets past McAllister, puts in such a good ball to Alvarez, doesn't even hit the target. This was such a good chance for a player of Alvarez's ball striking quality. Another question might be, could Alvarez potentially play in Haaland there? Maybe I'm asking too much of him. But again, yet another really good chance created by Doku via his dribbling. Once again, beating Trent on the outside, floats another dangerous cross into Haaland for him to attack, this time against Matip once again, gets past Matip there and creates another chance. And that is evidenced in the data. If we have a look at this pass network and attack and expected threats heat map, you can see basically all of City's expected threats are on the left-hand side. Look at all these lovely little passing lines between Ake, Bernardo and Doku, that left side being a really cohesive offensive fluid unit. Obviously, Doku was providing the threat with the dribbling. Obviously, Bernardo was providing a threat by dropping deep and then even underlapping past Doku. But Ake as well was fantastic. Not normally associated with his forward play, Gvardiol much more so. But here, for the goal, Alisson makes a mistake. He didn't have a great game. But Ake somehow manages to dribble past two players, both Szoboszlai and Trent, finds Haaland, who finds the back of the net. Really impressive from Ake. And if you needed any more convincing, it was Doku and City's left side, which was getting them the most joy. Have a look at this data from Soccerment. Tops the expected assist chart, 0.7. Tops expected threat from passes and carries, not just for City, but for the entire two starting 11s and the players overall. So Doku was fantastic. What wasn't fantastic, and the reason why we weren't able to kill the game off, that's the thing. I thought City were much better than Liverpool overall. But at 1-0 up, we did not kill the game. Not being clinical enough in terms of the finishing, but also just not being that much of a threat and being a bit of a one-trick pony in terms of only being a threat down the left. Look at the left side compared to the right. Look at all this lovely interconnectivity and fluidity and yummy. And then Alvarez, Foden, Walker, basically nothing in respect of build up and passing and creating that network with one another. Lots of people pointing the finger at Foden there, which is fine. He's a very good player. Maybe expect him to do better. You look at Doku as the other wide player. Well, Doku was able to do it. Why can't Foden? As good as Doku was, he was also getting the support from Bernardo, from Ake. Foden, in this right side area, basically left incredibly isolated. Didn't really have anyone support him. When it was Doku over here, and Bernardo, and Ake, Bernardo would provide that run. He would provide an option. He would give Doku space, or he would provide an avenue to pass. Alvarez didn't really do that, and it's the same with Walker. And it's not just an issue in this game, it's an issue across the season so far. And for me, this is the main reason why City didn't beat Liverpool, in addition to just not finishing chances generally. It was the poor quality on that right side. This is some data from Opta, which displays chances created this season, and it splits it up into the left side, the middle, and the right side. Now, it's great City are top for the middle, because that's where the most dangerous chances are, but literally the worst in the Premier League, or the lowest in the Premier League in respect of attacks down our right-hand side. The main reason why it's been so good down the middle is because when Foden's played there, he's created so many chances. I believe it's either the most or the joint most in respect of creating chances from that middle third of the pitch. The reason why it's poor on the right in general is because Walker's played there often. He's a right back, not a right winger, so it makes sense he wouldn't be that good at creating chances. But also, I don't want it to sound like I'm scapegoating Alvarez, but he just simply doesn't offer anything of any genuine value in these big games in that right central midfield position and role. It just doesn't make sense for me to sacrifice what we know is a brilliant asset that Foden's bringing to the table. He's the main reason why City are the top in respect of middle third chances created. But for some reason, we're shunting him out wide to accommodate a striker who isn't a midfielder because he's a striker. So it means he doesn't have the natural instincts or tendencies or inclinations to know when to play the ball, to know when to slow things down, to make those correct decisions. He just can't do it to the standard required because he's not a midfielder. He's not Foden. That's literally what Foden does. It's a big problem with a really easy fix. You just, quite simply, as I just get all these lads back into play, you just don't play him. It's not hard. You play Foden there. You play Lewis there. You play Bernardo there. Obviously, when De Bruyne comes back, you play him there. You don't need to shoehorn in players if it's not going to work. If it's not going to fit the system, and you're not going to change the system, then you can't shoehorn him in and expect it to work in the biggest games. Didn't work at Old Trafford. This is for Alvarez. Old Trafford, Stamford Bridge, Emirates, against Liverpool. He was very ineffective in all of those games, to be honest. He was one of our worst attackers in basically all of those games. And again, It's not really his fault. He's not a midfielder. But it just drives me crazy, and I don't really understand why we are persisting with it. Here's an example. So, Haaland made loads of really good runs in the game. Wasn't found. That's nothing new. It happened last season as well. But you knew that when the likes of De Bruyne or Gundogan eventually attempted the forward ball, it would normally come off. Alvarez picks up a really good position. With one ball, Rodri bypasses the whole Liverpool attack and midfield. Rodri was unbelievable, by the way. It's a really good turn by Alvarez. And he makes the right decision to play it quickly into Haaland. Now, I know for a fact that if this is Kevin De Bruyne or Phil Foden, that ball gets played accurately just in front of Haaland so he can control it, run onto it, have a 1v1 with Alisson. But Alvarez makes a bit of a mess of it and it goes behind Haaland. That's a very harsh example, but it's an example of what he just isn't naturally inclined to do in respect of output. That's not his game. There are pros to playing a striker in the midfield, in terms of like the ball striking, the finishing, but there are also massive issues, and this is causing a massive issue for City. We had basically no threat down the right-hand side. Yes, Foden didn't play well, but it's more down to the fact, for me anyway, that he's not being properly supported in respect to that midfield player. I'm convinced we won't be able to put in consistent, good performances against the best teams with someone who is deficient in that area of the pitch, in the midfield. I've talked a lot about City. Hopefully you guys now understand where I think City were good, where I think they could have improved. Just very briefly on Liverpool, specifically, let's deal with like a bit of a gripe of mine. Trent got man of the match, and that flabbergasted me. Bernardo, Doku, Akanji, Rodri definitely should have had it over him. I think it's only because he scored the goal that he got it, but oh well. I just thought this stat really made me laugh. Crosses, 4, for which he was second. You think, okay, whatever. Yeah, all his crosses were inaccurate. So why is that a flex on a man of the match? I know it doesn't matter, it's just a bit of a pet peeve of mine. And just in terms of Liverpool generally, do I think after this game, like, this proves they can go toe-to-toe with Man City in the title race? I'm still not convinced. I thought Liverpool were very, very fortunate to get anything from this game, to be honest. I think that their fans will be ecstatic with a draw. I think they will know they were absolutely not the better side and didn't really deserve anything. The data does also help support that. This is the XG timeline. We've also got the expected threat timeline, the vast majority going City's way rather than Liverpool's. That's my very brief overview of what I thought were the main issues in the game. Could have spoken about Akanji in the John Stones role, could have talked about how brilliant Bernardo and Rodri were, but I felt like the storyline of the left and the right was the main talking point from this game, and going forwards, that should be City's main priority in terms of remedying that issue. If you have enjoyed this style of video, hopefully it was okay. I would like to do this style of video every time there's a City match, even maybe like a tactical preview. If you like that idea, if you have enjoyed this video, then please leave a comment just saying if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, please give me some feedback. That would mean a lot. Hopefully you did enjoy it though. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.